First off, I want to thank the organisers of today's event. It's a great moment to be standing here amongst such great friends and supporters of civil liberties in this province. But it's also so wonderful to be standing here exactly 1 year later after having the greatest devolution of civil liberties that we've seen since the introduction of the War Measures Act in the Second World War. I'm particularly proud to be standing here because the Ontario Federation of Labour, along with the CLC and Amnesty International, Canadian Federation of Students, Council of Canadians, we all got together a year ago and mobilised a massive demonstration in this province, and we started right here on this lawn. But prior to that demonstration, we'd been working with the police to make sure that we did have, as somebody said earlier on, a family-friendly protest. We urged families to take their children and friends and whomever down to demonstrate, to send a signal to the international guests of the G20 that we were not going to accept this austerity plan being introduced by the Harper government and his attempt to sell that nonsense across the globe. And indeed, they've been somewhat successful when you take a look at what's happening in France, what's happening in Greece, what's happened in Ireland, and you take a look at the austerity programme and the suffering it's causing average citizens in those communities. That's what we were out to protest. And we were led to believe that Queen's Park was going to be a designated protest area. So we asked people to bring their children, to bring their friends and their family down here so we could have this protest and we'd have this march. We complied because you probably recall we were getting some pushback from the residents around Trinity Bellwood, because that was the first location that the cops said to us, that's where you should have your protest. So we complied. We said we'll listen to the citizens, we'll not take the protest down into their community, we'll have it up here. So we were led to believe that this was going to be a safe space for family and friends and protesters and trade unionists and environmentalists and senior citizens and teacher unions and auto workers. We thought we'd be safe up here. And now a year later I want to know who's responsible for making the decision to send the cops to Queen's Park, to beat the crap out of citizens, to beat them to a pulp, to break their limbs. I want to know who's responsible for that. And we need to have a full-blown public inquiry that we're to find out who's responsible for that mayhem, that act of violence against ordinary citizens. And we've listened for a year now. We've listened to the charade. We've listened to the code of silence, the blue thin line, closing their ranks around the cops, whether it be those on the front lines who perpetuated the violence. But I'm more interested in the ones behind the scenes. That's a scarier bunch. I want to know who made the decision to come up here and beat the crap out of citizens for doing their civic duties by protesting, by being able to stand up here and express their desire to have a different kind of a government policy be implemented. But I also want to know, what role did the Toronto Police Executive play in all of this? I want to know what role was the OPP playing in all of this? The RCMP, what role did they play? And the 5 or 6 police forces from outside of our province, what role did they play in the mayhem that ensued a year ago? And the only way we can get to that answer, my friends, is to keep the pressure up the way we are today, the way we've been this past week. But above all, we have to say to the Chief of Police in this city, you let us down, Chief Blair. You did not protect the citizens of this community, Chief Blair. You were behind the scenes, Chief Blair, covering up for those cops who beat the crap out of our citizens. And we know that code of silence that you have engaged in has prevented the special investigation units from finding out what went on behind the scenes. We know that you know the identity of those cops. Don't tell me you don't, you do. And because of that cone of silence that you engaged in, we are demanding here today that you step down, Chief Blair. It's time you left. It's time you left. It is not acceptable to say to the community, for example, in any one part of our community, when we find criminal activities taking place on the streets and young people get shot, we expect the citizens, and you demand of the citizens, you demand of those citizens that they come forward and give the names of whomever may have been witness to a crime being committed in this city.
That's right.
Why doesn't that same law apply to the cops in this city? Why can't you step forward? Why can't you step forward and say, yes, the police will be held accountable. They're accountable to civilian authority in this province. And that you should be standing full square behind a public inquiry, an independent inquiry that looks at the federal government involvement, it looks at Dalton McGuinty's involvement, it looks at the mayors of Toronto's involvement, and it looks at the police involvement. Nothing less will satisfy us. And if you don't believe that, take a look at today's newspapers. It doesn't matter what paper you look at. Toronto Star, Toronto Sun, Globe and Mail, Hamilton Spectator, front page news, Chief Blair and Dalton McGuinty and Stephen Harper. This is not going away. A year ago, 73% of the public said they supported the police actions. Today, it's only 23%. A massive change in public opinion. And that came about because of what you are doing here today. Each and every one of you has contributed to that downfall in popularity of that message. Thank you for fighting. Thank you for standing on those sidelines. And don't give up, my friends. We're going to get a public inquiry, and we're going to see the head of the chief of police is going to roll in this city, because you cannot be standing behind a bunch of thugs who attack the citizens of our community and still somehow maintain credibility as the chief of police. That's not on, Chief Blair. Step down and do the honourable thing. Take a walk, Chief Blair. It's time you left, and then we get a full public inquiry. Thank you very much, sisters and brothers.